Okay, so I wanted to come on here and make this video. I feel like I'm super washed out. Hold on. Okay, that's better. So, hello. I'm Feminine Thug. My real name is Kendall. And today I wanted to talk about essentially like interracial dating in the queer community. I don't really have any points prepared for this, so I'm just gonna kind of go off the top of my head. I was talking to myself about this, and I was like, let me like actually get into this. So let's just jump right into it. So I've noticed a lot of like, especially like black men tend to like date outside of their race, and they always say it's easier. But I've noticed just a lot of patterns in these interracial relationships. The first one being that a lot of these like non-black men go for black men. This is not all, but they go for black men because they're being rejected in their own racial and their own ethnic group. So they're considered what's like undesirable. Every ethnic group has like different standards for what is considered beautiful and what is not considered beautiful. And they don't match up to the requirements in their own ethnic group. And so then they go to black people because they see black people at like the bottom of the attractiveness hierarchy, and they think like a black man's not gonna say no to me. And sometimes black men like eat that up because a lot of black men also have like low self-worth. Like they don't see themselves as quite beautiful, or they are unable to validate their own self. Not every black man who's in an interracial relationship feels this way, but a lot do. Like they're not able to validate themselves, and they need the validation of somebody else to feel beautiful, especially somebody who's not black, because I also think that black men like this are aware on a subconscious level that in terms of the beauty standards and the beauty hierarchy, this is not a real hierarchy. Black people are not at the bottom of anything intrinsically, but in terms of a lot of the hierarchies in other cultures, blackness or dark skin or African features are considered like at the lowest level of attractiveness in other cultures. They know this on a subconscious level. So when somebody from another race comes to them, it makes them feel so much more beautiful than, let's say, if I were to come to them, because I'm already black. So they don't get that boost of, wow, somebody from another culture who's been told to see me as the least attractive sees me as attractive, so that must mean I'm attractive. And so you see a lot of these black men in relationships with non-black people in, you know, a queer sense, in a queer perspective, these black men with non-black men, because they feel like it is affirming to their low self-esteem to be with someone who is from another culture, typically lighter toned than them, who still sees them as beautiful. Again, this is not all, but a lot of the black men that I've noticed who express preferences for races that are outside of their own and are typically lighter than them, I also notice that those men tend to have self-esteem issues. You don't look in the mirror, you look in the mirror and you don't feel like you see someone who's beautiful. You look in the mirror and you genuinely feel like you're not attracted to yourself. So, yeah, and also like I said, like a lot of non-black men tend to go for black men because they've been rejected in their own ethnic group, and they think that black people are kind of like not in a position to say no to them. I've noticed for myself, when non-black men approach me and I'm not interested, immediately they call me a slur, or they get extra offended. And I'm like, wow, because you thought that as a black person, I would have to say yes to you because you think that I see you as more attractive than my black counterparts. Like they kind of see dating us, or them dating us, as like doing us a favor, as if, because okay, on a subconscious level, we can BS all that we want. On a subconscious level, everyone is aware of beauty standards and who is at the top and who is at the bottom. Now, on a subconscious level, we all, whether we want to or not, we're a product of our environments. Black people are, white people are, everyone is a product of our environment. So we're all aware of these beauty standards and we all operate from within them on a subconscious level. And what I've noticed, when non-black men get extra offended when I'm not down to be with them, to the point where they call me slurs or they bring up my race, I'm realizing that like you thought that you were stepping down towards me and like giving me a chance. You saw your attraction to me as charity work. You thought that I should feel so lucky that you approached me. You're not gonna do me a favor by not being black and being attracted to me. That doesn't do anything for me. I already think that blackness is beautiful, and I don't think that any other race is gonna be inherently more beautiful just because it's not black. But they expect us to have that mentality because that mentality benefits them. That mentality makes them superior. Where I've realized that a lot of non-black men that go for black men want to be, in every relationship, there's a masculine energy and a feminine energy, or a runner and a chaser. The person who has penetrative energy and person who just has more receptive energy. I've noticed that a lot of these non-black men, when they are tired of being the chaser, they start dating black men because they figure that we're always going to chase them. And for the most part, it's a lot of these black guys that do. They really run after non-black validation because, again, they think it's going to say something more about them as a black person if a non-black person finds them attractive. Newsflash, it absolutely doesn't. But yeah, I've noticed that like these men they want to be seen as the prize. And they think that a black person, just because, this is mostly like white guys I've noticed this with, but anyone can be complicit in this. They want to be seen as the prize, and they think a black person is just automatically going to see a white person as like a prize, as if you're so much more precious and so much more attractive and so much more of a gift because you're not black or because you're white. I've also noticed a lot of black men state their preferences for like white guys or non-black men in general because it's easier to date them. And what I've noticed, because I don't only see this on the internet, I've interacted with men in real life who have this perspective, and what I've noticed about men like that is that they've been rejected by black people for being gay, or being rejected by black people for being trans, for being bisexual, for being anything that's like queer. They've been rejected by black people, and that planted a seed in their subconscious that says that black people are a threat, black people are not accepting. And because they have a rejection wound from the homophobia they faced from their family, which is primarily black, when they date in the real world, they project that trauma onto all black people, even other black people that are just as queer as them, because they haven't yet divorced the idea that black people are going to inflict emotional harm and perpetuate their rejection and abandonment wound. So a lot of the black men that I see that say, you know, it's so much easier to date white guys. Yes, it's easier for you because none of your wounds of abandonment are being triggered in those relationships, because you don't tie white men to your abandonment, but you tie black men to your abandonment. Especially queer black men who have had rejection from their fathers for their sexuality. Oh, you'll see them date white guys a lot, or non-black men, because they're not ready to look in their partner's eyes, slightly see their father, and to face the kind of trauma that induces. I also do want to reiterate that this is not all interracial relationships that are queer. There are interracial relationships that are queer that are quite innocent, and it's just two people falling in love. But we would be incredibly intellectually dishonest to act like some interracial relationships, if not a lot of interracial relationships, are coming from a bit more of a dishonest, a bit more of all the cases that I just named, essentially. Another thing that I've noticed is fetishization. How this is mostly white guys, but anybody can fetishize any sort of race, so it doesn't really matter. But again, I'm black, so if someone's gonna fetishize me, they're most likely not gonna be black, most likely gonna be white. But I see a lot of black guys fall into relationships with white men that clearly fetishize black men. All of their exes are black. They are into weird, racially motivated kinks. All of these things are actually quite dangerous for the black man specifically, because what you don't realize is that guy is not with you because he likes you. He could like you, but the main reason he's with you is because of your race. And once you realize that, you realize how much more likely it is for you to get cheated on, because this person has an attraction to blackness in general, and it's not you. And I also think it's kind of insulting to yourself to date somebody who fetishizes your race, because their motive for being with you is your race. It's not you. It's not the fact that you're kind. It's not the fact that you're polite. The main reason they're with you is because you're black. If you were not black, they would not be with you. And that's not good, because love is about two souls connecting together. And souls don't see race, gender, anything. Gender is a bit questionable in this kind of conversation with queer men, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just two light energies connecting. And when you date someone who fetishizes you for your race, they don't see you as a whole 360 individual. They see you as the amalgamation of all of their preconceived ideas of your race. And you'll notice that as soon as you don't live up to their expectations of what your race should be, you'll notice a switch in their behavior, and they'll disappoint you. They just expect stereotypes out of you. That's not fair to you. Like forget about that guy. Like, think about yourself and like what it means to have a part. Because when like life is quite volatile. I don't know if you've seen everything that's going on in the world right now. Like, to be able to find a partner who's going to be with you like through and through, you need to make sure that that's a person that's like genuinely with you for your soul. To be with someone who fetishizes you, who just sees you as like a walking pogo stick, like that's so. But again, this is black men with like self-worth issues who don't, I don't want to say don't respect themselves, but don't genuinely love themselves. They don't feel truly beautiful. They don't feel truly lovable. So they settle for these less than favorable circumstances in their relationships because they think that's all they can ever amount to. They think that's all the greatness and the love that is out there for them. And it is quite sad. And you see them double down. And you can always tell when a black guy is in an interracial relationship or in like a relationship with a white guy, and he's just in a relationship with a white guy because that's the person he just so happened to fall in love with. You can tell when that stuff is real. You can always tell. Everyone can tell. Because at the end of the day, human beings are human beings that, like, human beings are beings that are attracted to authenticity, to realness. And the one thing that we can all feel on a subconscious level is when something is full of can't swear on YouTube, but when something is full of BS, every human being on an intuitive soul level can feel that. So again, I want to reiterate, not every interracial relationship is fueled with like a bunch of the stuff that I just mentioned, but when it is, everyone can tell. Like, everyone can tell. And I see the black men that are in those problematic interracial relationships, like, they get so offended when you call it out because deep down they know. Until you look in the mirror and you truly love yourself, I personally don't think that the choices you make in your relationships, friendships, whatever, are going to reflect, you know, anything positive for you. I also do want to say that me personally, I would prefer, I'm bisexual by the way, but me personally, I would prefer to be with a black man or a black woman. However, I have noticed, because again, with everything that I said in this video has been mostly around my experience. I've never dated a white guy. So those have been experiences from like mostly like my friends or people that I know. One group though, and I can't speak for everyone, this is only my experience, one group that I have noticed that is genuinely attracted to me, not because they're ugly to their racial group, and not necessarily because they fetishize me, is Latinos, which is, I guess it's because, you know, Latino as an ethnic group, there's all people of all sorts of colors. Like, you have Latinos that are as white as my shirt, and you have Latinos that are as dark as me, especially in like Colombia and like Brazil and Dominican Republic. So I think because there are already black people in their ethnic group, like, I've noticed cases like that mostly with Latinos where I don't feel fetishized, and I don't feel like you're only dating me because nobody in your racial group wants you. No, you're very desired in your racial group, and you've dated men of your own race or other races, but I just so happen to be a part of the type of man that you would find attractive. As when I was younger, like, I'm 24 right now. When I was like in high school, like, I went to a high school with a lot of different types of Asians. I went to high school with a lot of East Asians. They were mostly Vietnamese. A lot of East Asians, a lot of Southeast Asians like Filipinos and Cambodians, and a lot of South Asians like Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankan, all that stuff. I wasn't very popular amongst them. Like, I'll put pictures of me like now. I'll try to find pictures of me back then, but pictures of me now where I'm actually like working out. I feel like there was a big shift in 2019, 2020 where like a lot of races started to become way more open to dating black people, including white men. Because I remember when I was in high school, white men did not want me. White girls, I got a lot of attention from emo white girls, like goth white girls, because they like fruity men. That's something I've noticed about goth white women. They like their man a little fruity. And they like black guys, and they like black guys that are like, to them, I don't think they know that they like black guys that are bisexual, but to me, I know you like a black man with feminine energy. So I've definitely noticed that. But with white men, I was not popular at all in high school until I got out, until I was in my first year of college. And then when the Black Lives Matter movement started picking up pace again, because it started first off in like 2015, but when it started picking up in 2020 again, all of a sudden these white guys wanted, I was gonna say something really explicit. All of a sudden these white guys started giving me attention. This is before I started going to the gym, before I started investing in my appearance. So I do believe that there was a cultural shift that made white people want to date black people in 2020. Okay, that's the last thing I really have to say. Peace.